Alright, hey guys, remember it's TCG back with a new video. So with this video, there's a new line of support. This is for Ishizu. Yeah, and it's based all around Exchange of the Spirit. So just to go over Exchange of the Spirit here, if both players have 15 or more cards in their graveyard, pay 1,000 life points. Each player swaps the card in their graveyard with the cards in their deck, then shuffles their deck. And you can only activate one Exchange of the Spirit per duel. So you're basically just trying to get access to this card in order to switch your the deck and the grave, which I'm guessing the intention is to mill your opponent. But yeah, let's see. So here we have Caldo, the possessed statue. This is the card in the on top here. It's a level 4 Earth Fairy monster. You can discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon this card from your hand. Then you can add one Exchange of the Spirit or one card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. So based off this, it's looking like a lot of these are just going to be based around, you know, like I said, Exchange of the Spirit. I saw as a preview that this one included it. So yeah, that looks like it's going to be the main focus of the deck. And yeah, so yeah, it looks like I'm guessing the other cards are going to mention this too, which means that this card is going to be able to search out those other ones. And it's interesting that it says Earth Fairy. You know, a new archetype that has been announced that's Earth Fairy is Vernalizer. If you guys want to check it out, it's in the top right corner. I can see it having some synergy with this deck. Madora is another Earth Fairy deck. Not sure how it'll work with this, but something to consider. Quick effect: you can banish this card from your field or grave, then target up to 5 cards in any graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. If Exchange of the Spirit is not on your field or in your grave at activation, you can only target up to 3 cards instead. So this can just give you some of your cards back after you use Exchange of the Spirit. You flip your deck and the grave, and it gives you kind of more control over what you're gonna be drawing into. And here we have Madora, the Cestus Oracle. You can discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon this card from your hand. Then you can place one Gravekeeper's Trap from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. So Gravekeeper's Trap looks like it's gonna be a new trap here that they're gonna show later on. Quick effect: you can banish this card from your field or grave and target up to 5 cards in your grave, in any grave, and shuffle them into the deck. And if Exchange of the Spirit is not on your field or in your grave at activation, you can only target up to 3 instead. So same thing as the first card here. And looks like, you know, this is going to be your main way of searching Gravekeeper's Trap. And yeah, it looks like a lot of these are just going to be able to special summon themselves out by just discarding. That's cool to see. And then here we have Agito, the Ancient Sentry, which is the egg thing. I think there's another Agito monster actually. And if a card is sent from your hand and or deck to your opponent's grave, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can special summon one level 4 Earth Fairy monster from your grave, except Agito, the Ancient Sentry. So the idea is that typically once you use Exchange of the Spirit, there's going to be cards that are sent from your hand or from the deck to the grave. But even, you know, if they try to use a hand trap or something, this will trigger it. So they included this just to make it a lot easier for this card to be summoned, and it doesn't have to be directly from Exchange of the Spirit. And yeah, and then you can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can summon one level 4 Earth Fairy monster from your grave. So this is a generic special summon. I can see this. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a splashable sort of engine for Earth Fairy, which there aren't that many options, but something to consider for Madora and the new Vernalizer archetype. And if this card is sent from your hand or deck to the grave, you can send the top 5 cards of each deck to the grave. Then if Exchange of the Spirit is in your grave, you can send the top 5 cards of either deck to the grave. So basically, if it's sent from hand or deck to the grave, you mill 5. And then if Exchange of the Spirit is in your grave, you can mill another 5. So basically, again, this is going to be a great card for decking out your opponent, because with Exchange of the Spirit, you're going to get them to basically have 15 cards in their grave. And then, you know, that's at the bare minimum, or that's like the ideal account you want them to have. You want them to have 15 cards in their deck, and then from here you can basically make them mill 5 and then mill another 5. So that looks pretty good. And then here we have Gravekeeper's Trap, which is a continuous trap card. While Exchange of the Spirit is in your grave, your opponent can activate cards in the grave or special summon monsters from the grave. So that's really good. You can see Ishizu is actually in the art for that, so that's cool to see. But yeah, that looks like it's just gonna stop your opponent from gaining any sort of benefits from exchange of spirit in case they run like a deck that actually benefits from having a bunch of cards from their deck in the grave. This will just stop that, and that's cool to see. Definitely needed if you're going to run this type of deck. And then during the main phase, you can discard one card, add one Gravekeeper monster or one Earth Fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So that's cool because it just like indirect support to Gravekeepers in case they want to run like an Exchange of the Spirit engine there. During your opponent's draw phase, before they draw, you can declare one card name, reveal the card your opponent draws for their normal draw. And if it's a declared card, send it to grave. If you have some level of control, like with the other cards that you're choosing what cards to go back to their deck, then you can have some idea of what cards to call out, or punish them if you notice that they're missing certain cards in their grave and you kind of know what deck they're playing. This seems like a pretty solid card and definitely needed if you're gonna use this type of deck. And here we have let me see, TCG guess is Exchange of the Heart. But the OCG translation is Reverse of Despair and Hope. If you control 3 or more Earth Fairy monsters, send as many monsters in the field as possible to the grave. Then each player can touch summon monsters from their opponent's grave to their field up to the number of monsters that were sent from your opponent's grave by this effect. Then if Exchange of Spirit is in the grave, you can set one trap directly from your deck. It can be activated this turn. It looks like this is going to be a board wipe that does not destroy, does not target. It's just going to be clear. It's just going to be like activating a Zeus. Easy removal, really good removal. And then each player can special summon monsters from their opponent's grave to their field up to the number of monsters that were sent from their opponent's grave by this effect. So that's pretty great, since you're going to be running like a bunch of monsters that aren't going to be doing that much. It's just going to be like these, and the Vernalizer guys aren't like too big anyways. And yeah, and then you're going to just be able to take the monsters that they properly summoned from the extra deck and use them as your own monsters. Really good. This card's pretty cool. And then you can set one trap. It's basically a trap trick. Just search out any trap card and activate it. You can activate it this turn. That's cool to see, and I'm curious to see how people are going to use that and possibly abuse it. This is also very generic, so people can run this in other decks as removal. Yeah, this is a cool card to see. I wonder how people are going to be able to use this, especially in the future once there's new Earth Fairy decks. And yeah, and here we have Bomb Held by Fate, or the TCG guess Blast Held by Fate, which is Obelisk right here. That's pretty cool. It's a normal trap card. When an opponent monster declares an attack, destroy one face-up monster they control with the highest attack, your choice if tied, and if you do inflict damage to them equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. Then if Exchange of the Spirit is not in your grave, you take damage equal to the damage your opponent took. So again, they want you to have Exchange of the Spirit. If you don't, you get punished for it. And yeah, this is just a form of like protection. That can do a significant amount of damage. The thing is, they do have to declare an attack, which isn't great, but yeah, I'm curious to see how many copies people are going to run of this. And if this card is sent from the hand or deck to the grave, you can target one level 4 Earth Fairy monster in your grave, add it to your hand. So, pretty good. Just kind of synergizes with the rest of it. Yeah, cool to see. Then this looks like a really fun deck, honestly. You're going to be running a bunch of these guys. So when they're sent to the grave, for instance, this egg, when it's sent from the hand or deck to the grave, it's going to be able to trigger its effects here. And yeah, that's going to be really useful. So I'm curious to see how people are going to be able to use this engine with other decks. I wonder what's going to be the most usable engine. I can see Vernalizer using this. Maybe since I think Vernalizer is focused around like discarding. But yeah, if you guys want to check out the Vernalizer, the new cards, it's in the top right corner. See how it synergizes with this, and then you guys can come up with ideas. And yeah, just let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.